Hello, hello, everybody. Good afternoon or evening if you're on the West Coast. The East Coast. Us on the West Coast still have a little bit left in our day. So we'll give it a minute or so, let people trickle in. We do have over about 110 registered, so I do expect quite a few people live on the call. And I got a lot of new stuff to share with you guys today, so I'm very excited to do so. While you guys are popping in here, if you guys want to put where you're from in the chat, just so we can kind of see what areas of the country we're reaching, that would be great. Just throw that in the comments, and then my team will see that, and we'll comment back and forth with you. But excited to present with you guys and give some updated stuff, as it's been about 4 or 5 months since we've done one of these webinars. So give another minute, and then we'll get started here. Thanks, Chris. I don't know about that. I mean, my wife agrees. At least I'm going to tell you she agrees, but I appreciate that. Thanks for joining. We got Trisha from San Jose. Love it. Now San Jose is not where we were, but we've been in California twice in like the last month. And my wife, she's missing our Tap Into the Future event in Savannah because she's going back to Oceanside or that area for soccer for our daughter. So, beautiful area. Love California. I don't know if I'd want to live there because it's a little expensive, but I definitely would like to visit. Thank you, Nadine. I know you're in Queen Creek. I know where you live. Nadine is our team member. She's my marketing manager. She'll be monitoring the chat and stuff. We got Nick from St. Louis. Thanks for joining, Nick. Love to hear how the weather is in your guys' area. It's still warm here. It's like 105 today, which I'm sure some of you guys, if you're in HVAC, would love to have in your market probably. But hopefully some of you guys' seasons are starting to change a little bit. All right, I'll give it one more minute. Ali, good to, well, I wish I could see you, but good to see you in the chat here from Sacramento. How's the weather up in Sacramento, Ali? I'm assuming it started to change. I don't, because I know every time I've been out in California, it's been on the coast, so the weather's like 75 degrees and it's perfect. But I'm sure other areas get a little different, little different weather out there. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Now, for you guys that are joining this, or if you're watching the replay, there is a replay available. It will go out. We will make sure that you get a copy of it. That's quite a discrepancy, Ali. We got Daniela from Vista. We got Dallas Fort Worth. I figured someone from Dallas Fort Worth would be here. There's a lot of contractors there. Chris is enjoying the death zone for HVAC companies where it's beautiful outside. Awesome, guys. Well, I got a lot of stuff to share. I've added some new slides to this because a lot has changed. There's still some things that work really well, but I want to make sure you guys have this blueprint. And whether you want to work with us or you decide to take this to someone else, that is completely up to you. Nadine, just so you know, I am not going to be able to see the chat, so I'm just going to rely on you. If you guys have questions as this happens, throw them in the chat. We will get to the questions at the end, as I'm not going to be looking at those, so we can get through all of this content. All right, so today we're talking about local SEO blueprint. Now, this works for any home service company, but our primary focus is HVAC, electrical, and plumbing companies. So this is what you're going to learn during this presentation. Mistakes that are killing your Google business profile. There are several that I see on a regular basis. We're going to talk about those so that way you don't make those mistakes. Why Google business profile is your most important, I'm going to say most important organic online asset. Top local ranking factors and how to apply them to your business. How to turn reviews into your secret weapon, including some AI and automation tips, and how to grow organically without breaking the bank. I was going to add one more in here, but I am not the pro at adding to slide decks, so I screwed it all up and I deleted what I did. But we're also going to talk about what's new with Google Business Profile. Is there some new features, including some AI stuff that you guys need to be aware of? All right, so real quick, you guys put the city and state where you're from. Just put the industry in the chat. And actually, I'm just going to move the chat over here so I can look at it when I want to. Love to see what industries we have served, because I will try to tailor the content throughout to the industries that are live on the call today. Daniela is HVAC. And if you guys have multiple trades, make sure to put those in here as well, because there will be some nuances. Chris is HVAC and electric. Ramon from Florida is HVAC. We got Corey, plumbing in Houston. Nick, landscaping and pressure washing. That's good to know. Trisha's got all three. Lucky you. There's going to be some real nuanced things that I'm going to go over, especially for you guys with multiple trades, that I think will be really valuable for you guys. So stay tuned for that. All right. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Joshua Crouch. I've been in the HVAC industry for a long time before I started Relentless Digital. We've done pretty well since we started a marketing company, and we also have a pretty popular podcast called Service Business Mastery. So if you have not checked that out yet, I would definitely recommend checking that out. All right. So why Google Business Profile? Why an entire webinar and presentation about this? And this actually is Relentless Digital started. The only thing we did for the first 18 months was Google Business Profiles. I was working at an HVAC company in Wisconsin, and we had Service Titan. So I was able to see, we had tracking lines set up, and I was able to see which campaigns, which marketing campaigns were driving the most revenue, the best average ticket, and which ones were really growing our business. And what I noticed over time was that our Google Maps listing was, our average ticket, I think, was like $800 higher than our regular organic search and Facebook ads and everything else that we were doing. So I started really diving into this to be like, we have the best customers that come through Google Maps, and we're making more money per customer. So what is causing that, and how can we get more of that? And it led me down this terribly deep rabbit hole of information, webinars, ebooks, YouTube videos, anything I could get my hands on to see how we could expand our presence on maps. And it led a lot of revelations in what the things that we've turned into a service. And some of those things are even things that I wanted to do while I was in the trades, with multiple listings and growing with additional trades that we didn't quite get to when I was there. But the company that I used to work with is still a client today, about 4 years later. So we've been able to implement some of those things, and I'll share some of those screenshots and case studies and stories a little bit later. And this is the other big reason. Now, this data is not quite up to date. This was like 2024 when I took this. So it is a little different now, but not that much different. And essentially, Google Business Profile is where people go to hire local businesses. And this is you guys can certainly look up these case studies that have been put together by thousands and thousands of clicks and impressions and things. But essentially about 48% of clicks on page one go to maps. That's a lot, considering we have LSA, PPC, and then organic search. So a lot of times I hear, well, Google Business Profile is so important. Do I still need a website? And the answer is 100% yes. There's a lot of reasons for that, but what happens is, and this is real data. I pulled this a while ago, but real data where we were monitoring website clicks. So on your Google Business Profile, when people click that website button, you can see that there's still a lot of people clicking on websites, but they're not necessarily calling through the website. They're more so going to the website to see your special offers, who you are, find some information about your business, just to see if you're a relevant company. If your website looks like it's from 1980, which I don't know if they had a website 1990 maybe, those sorts of things. They want to make sure you look like a good company. You're showing your team, your trucks, who they're going to do business with. And then my belief is that they go back to the Google Business Profile, and that's where they call from. So you can see that website clicks are definitely even more than phone call clicks. So websites are not dead, and websites actually have a lot of ranking benefit for your Google Business Profile, which we'll go into here shortly. Next couple slides before we really get into the meat of the content is just a couple tracking tools and things that I think are relevant for contractors to use, just to, whether it's you're doing this yourself or you have an agency and you just want to hold them accountable. For anything website related, I would focus on SEMrush or Ahrefs. These tools have so much value in them. Even if you're just looking from an overall, like a website audit, and then to see your organic rankings, these tools are great. If you want to do local keyword tracking, I would highly recommend either keyword.com or Bright Local, because what they do is they actually will change where they're doing the search from. SEMrush or Ahrefs won't change the location. So you might rank for plumber, Queen Creek, Arizona, but keyword.com and Bright Local, you can track plumber near me or AC repair near me, and then track it for 5, 10, 15, 20 different cities and see which page on your website's pulling up organically. So it gets you a little bit deeper information. And this is just some examples of, this is keyword.com. So this is in SEMrush. They were showing in position 20 for ceiling fan install near me. The same keyword locally, because we had location pages on their website, you could see that they're ranked on the first result and the 6th result. And these were different city pages. So that's the reason why you need something that's a little more deep for local keyword research. And this is what it looks like and this is the beautiful thing about like a keyword.com, is it will show results in the different cities. Because a lot of times we get people that contact us like, hey, I'm searching for my house and I don't rank. I don't know why. Now you can test those things and you can see those results for all the different keywords you want to track in all of these different markets. And if you don't want to pay for a tool, there is a free option. It's called GS Location Changer. Go to the Google Chrome store, download it. And then all you have to do, this little box comes out, as you can see with the little green arrow, put in the location. So you can do a different city. You can decide if you're in your office, you want to search from, a town 10 miles over, whatever you want to do, you can. You just click this little checkbox and the fake location is enabled. And then you just refresh your bar and you can see this search was done from Queen Creek, Arizona, and I was searching companies in Utah for this presentation a couple years ago. So it's really nice and easy. It's completely free. I don't think you get like 10 searches a day or something like that, but it's a great way to check your rankings without having to buy a tool. And this is what keyword.com looks like. You see all these different cities, the different rankings. I'm tracking the same keywords for multiple cities, and you can see what that looks like. All right, now to the Google Maps stuff. This is the core of what we're going to focus on over the next hour or so. I'm really curious to know in the chat, if you are managing your own Google listing, put a 1. If you have someone else handling it, put a 2. And if you're not managing it all and you have no idea what's going on with it, put a 3 in the chat. I'd like to kind of see what that looks like for you guys. Okay, good. We got a couple people doing it themselves. Jason has someone handling it for him. Appreciate you guys following along and putting that stuff in the chat. So it looks like I'm glad nobody said 3, because not managing it all would not be a good place to start. So I'm glad you guys have someone managing, whether it's you or someone else. All right. So this is another free Chrome extension, GMB Everywhere. This is one that we actually use a lot. I use this for audits all the time because it allows us to get a ton of information both on our listing and our competitors' listings. And what's beautiful about this is what categories your competitors are using. How many posts they're doing. Their review velocity, which is just a count of how often they're getting reviews. If they've added website content recently. If they have multiple listings, so you can see strategically what they're doing. All of that information is literally right here. It's a little hard to see under this basic audit. You can also see what their reviews say about them. So if you wanted to take all of their reviews, export them, find all the 1 stars, throw them in ChatGPT, and start creating content around your competitors' 1-star reviews, this would be the easy button, if you will, to do that. What also is beautiful about this is when you are trying to do research on what other categories you can select, and we're going to get into the importance of categories here really shortly. I think it's actually the next slide. You can see very quickly all the related categories and then all of the related services within that category. All too often we find that agencies, contractors, they don't build enough service pages on their website to cover all of these different services. And this is like, think of this as Google's tip on what you should have on your content if you're an HVAC contractor. This one I know caps you at like 5 or 10 searches a day. It's really cheap, or really cost effective, I should say, if you do get a subscription, but it's really, really valuable information to gather for yourself. Now, I mentioned we were going to talk about categories next, and this is where we're going to start getting into the top local SEO ranking factors. When I say local SEO, I'm talking about Google Maps. And you can see of the top 8 here, I just took a screenshot of the top 8, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Categories is mentioned twice, with primary category being the most important. And now this also gets into why, when you have multiple trades, like some of you guys said you have multiple trades in the chat, it's so important for you to have multiple listings, because the primary category carries such dramatic weight for your business. So I can't remember exactly who it was. I think it was Trisha. You have an electric, plumbing, and HVAC company. The problem I see is when contractors are trying to grow all of these trades simultaneously, they have one listing. So one listing, you can only make the one primary category. So you're really only going to grow one trade. And most people don't even know that that's a problem until they get on a call and someone like myself shares that information with them. So there's multiple ways to go about that. But what's nice about having multiple listings, and we're not going to get a lot into multiple listings today, but I'm just going to give you guys a couple tips, is you can strategically place these listings in other cities and towns that you want to rank in. Because sometimes when we start a business, we start it where it makes sense, or in a rural area, but we don't really want customers around that area. So then our next Google Business Profile listing, we put in a city where we really want to get clients. Maybe it's an affluent area, or it's just got the right type of clientele for you. So we're really strategic with that stuff. And there's typically like a full process. Sometime later this fall, I'll do a multiple location webinar for you guys, but just know that that is definitely an option. Feel free to ask any questions about that stuff in the chat, and we can get to those at the end. This is where category selection becomes so difficult. There are so many different category options. This is just the ones I found for HVAC companies. Here's the plumbing ones. Here's the electrical ones. And you only get to choose 9, 1 primary and 8 secondary. It's 9 or 10, but you get capped. So if you do have multiple trades, you get capped, and you can't even add your secondary categories for the other services that you offer. So again, that's also why it's important to start thinking about a multiple listings setup. And these category options, as I showed you guys before, you guys can get all of these from GMB Everywhere. So don't worry about taking screenshots of this. Now, I want to highlight with some case studies the importance of the category selection, because right now, being September, like Chris, I know you mentioned that your market is in the weather's great right now, but eventually it will get a little colder. I know you're a little further south, so maybe not super cold, but some of you guys are going in a change of seasons. And I think we had a landscaping company, landscaping pressure washing for Nick. Your business might be seasonal, maybe it's not, but changing the primary category can have massive ranking benefits. And you can see here, we changed the primary category for this company. I think this was April. We did this from HVAC contractor to air conditioning repair service. And then we changed the URL on their Google Business Profile to match the content for air conditioning repair service in their city. And that's why it's also important to have all these location pages and everything else on your website. It allows you more options to have relevant content for your Google Business Profile listing. And within a few days, you can see the difference in rankings. They shot up in a bunch of areas right before AC season. This is something our team does regularly on our own. We have like a massive map of the entire US and Canada, and we have it layered almost like the, if you guys are in HVAC, the SEER rating map. We have something very similar where, like in October, we'll change northern parts of the country to furnace repair service, for example. And then we start doing that for different markets at different times. But it's very important if you have some sort of seasonality, or maybe a certain time of year you want different types of jobs. Those are things that you can decide that you want to change. And it's really quite easy to change. But again, monitoring your results will give you, did this help or did it not? Next, we're going to talk about, and actually removal of spam listings. We're not going to talk about that too much because it's actually a lot less relevant today. This study was a year or two ago. But we are going to talk about keywords in your Google Business Profile title. Most of you guys have probably seen this in your market or some variation of it. This is something that we do regularly for clients. So I'm going to talk through the do's and the don'ts to make sure you set this up properly for yourself. So here's some don'ts. The Chicago market, the Las Vegas market are really good at finding don'ts because these guys just throw every keyword they can at their listing. And the problem, so there's a few problems with this. One, when you change your name on Google Business Profile, because of the changes Local Service Ads has made, you have to update Local Service Ads as well. In order to update Local Service Ads, you have to have some sort of DBA or fictitious name certificate from your state. So there's a proper way to do this and an improper way. The old way was just change the name. Google very rarely suspended anyone, and you could just put whatever keywords you wanted in the name. The right way is to go get a DBA or some states called a fictitious name certificate and change it the right way. But also make sure if you do this, you change your LSA listing as well at the same time. So get with LSA support and change it on GBP. Otherwise, it's going to disconnect that LSA connection and you're going to be without leads for a few days. When done properly, this can work and have massive benefits for you. This is actually a client of ours in the Phoenix area, and you can see the name change and look at the dates here. It was 3 days later. And we have hundreds of examples of this helping. This is part of our optimization and onboarding process. But you can see some massive increases really, really, really quickly without having to wait a long period of time. And that's why I've always loved Google Business Profile so much, is because we can make tweaks and we can make changes and see changes really quickly. Here's another one I did talk about. This is actually the company that I used to work at. I wanted to add electrical while we were there. My boss never allowed me to. He added it after I left. But you can see the difference. So the name before was actually Professional Services Heating and AC Repair. We added electric in here, and 8 days later, they're dominating their market for electrical work as a new trade. And this was their second location as well. So their primary location we didn't touch. Next, we're going to talk about location. Now, I mentioned sometimes people set up their business, their Google Business Profile in an area that makes sense, where it's a rural area, maybe it's their house, or just an area that doesn't get a lot of search volume or there's not a lot of people around. This is something that most people don't even know. They're literally working against Google's algorithm and they have no idea. And most marketing companies don't bring it up. I don't know why. I don't know if they just don't know, but literally no matter what you throw at this, you're not going to be able to rank. So it's very important to understand this next part. And I'm going to start out with a case study, and you can see the dates were 2 days apart. One of these days, I'll get some updated screenshots. You can see I did this presentation a while ago. But this client had 2 what are known as SAB listings, service area business listings. And one was their house, one was a different plumber's house that they employed. And I told them before they started working with us, they have to get at least 1 office, because I knew that having a physical space, for whatever reason, it ranks better, and it has for years now. So this was actually before they even onboarded with us. We just helped them change their address, and you can see the massive ranking benefit in 2 days just by following what the algorithm wants to see versus what they had set up. This is another mistake that I see a lot on the Google Business Profile is client wants to rank in an area that is 5 to 10 to 15 miles away, and they don't understand why they can't rank in that area. So this client wanted to rank in Bozeman, Montana, which is over here on the right-hand side, but their location is smack dab in the middle of 4 corners. But if you went and searched their address on Google Maps, the US Postal Service says, hey, they're in Bozeman. So it's a little confusing there, and that's why understanding how this algorithm works is so important for your results, because if you have all of these factors working against you, you're not going to be able to rank. So we told them that. They ended up getting a second location over here, more on the east side of Bozeman, and they rank very well today. And what you can see is this red dotted map. This is what Google, their definition of Bozeman, Montana is. And you can see their location is about 4 or 5 miles outside of there. So we had multiple conversations about that. And you can kind of see where the rankings dip. This same Google map outline is right here. And you can see they rank everywhere except for when they get to these other cities, because there's just too many providers that are closer. And Google kind of has these I don't know what to call them, these guardrails around these cities. If you're not inside the city, they don't rank you as well. So just things to keep of note. So if that's you and you know you're outside of the city, otherwise go Google your map pin and then zoom out and then Google the city, and you'll see if your map pin is inside the city limits or not. That may help you decide if you need to move your office or get a different office and use that as your Google Business Profile location. This one, I still don't think a lot of people know this one, because you can use this very strategically to your advantage. Is back in late 2023, Google started including hours of operation in their ranking factors. And I don't know why I have the screenshot backwards, but you can see this is during normal business hours. And this was on at 4:58 in the morning. They weren't open. They were open from like 8 to 5. And you can see that they're drastically reduced their service area in their rankings just by when they were open and when they were not. So strategically, let's say it's shoulder season and you just need leads to fill the board. This is something you may want to, if you're not already 24/7, maybe you want to expand your hours on your Google Business Profile. Or maybe you're really busy and you want to reduce the amount of hours because your team's working overtime. All of those things can be taken into consideration to decide what your hours should be. And it's just something that's a nice, easy lever point for people to pull if they need it. So prior to 2024, some of the things that you optimize on the Google Business Profile really didn't have a whole lot of ranking impact. But some point in I think it was 2024, the predefined services. So like for HVAC, as I have up on the screen here, there's like 13 to 15 different services. If you select HVAC contractor, if you did not fill these out, you weren't going to rank very well for these. And so what we have uncovered in this, we use GMB Everywhere, and that's why I mentioned the tool earlier, to find the category and then the services listed inside that category for a plumber. So this plumber that we tested this for they don't do bathroom remodeling or kitchen remodeling, but repair water fixtures, which is something they do offer, was listed under bathroom remodeler, I think. So we found it and only turned on that one service and filled that information out. And you can see, again, it's just like a day later, massive ranking boost. Now I know some of this is out in the water, but they did grow here as well. And so they're getting more calls for water fixtures, repairing those. So it's finding the nooks and crannies, because there's so much information and people just like, oh yeah, I optimize it, but they didn't really go deep enough. And just like anything in business and life, the deeper you go, the more results or the better results you're going to have. Next, we're going to talk about some optimization tips and things that you guys can do, and what type of content should I post? How often should I be doing it? All those sorts of things. One thing that people don't use enough is the products section, because you can fill in your services here. You can put your special offers here. Roto-Rooter did a really good job. You can see right here, if I'm seeing this profile and I see $100 off right away, it captures my attention. And getting people, because if they're searching on Google, they're already on the bottom of the funnel. They're already looking for a provider. They know they have a problem. So getting that person to convert on your listing, a special offer might be the thing that does that. And that's what we have to keep in mind when we post content to our Google Business Profile. It's not, I know a lot of people are like, well, I can just connect a tool and I can share the same posts on Facebook and Instagram as my Google Business Profile. The difference is Facebook and Instagram are much higher up in the funnel. You don't want to post the same content. Facebook and Instagram are more about awareness. Google Business Profile is about conversion, because somebody's making a decision today or very soon who they want to hire. And so use that real estate accordingly to make sure your services are listed and your special offers are listed. To follow that up, Google also has these little emoji looking things. They're called justifications, where your offer posts, if let's say you have an offer post for, $50 off any plumbing repair, and somebody types in plumbing repair near me, that might pull your offer into the little snippet here where you can get a conversion. And that's why it's so important to line those things up, because again, anyone searching for you on Google is looking for a provider. So we want to try to give them the information relevant so they can make a decision and hopefully choose our clients or your company. Here's another example. Most of the posts, now we're going to get into a couple other things that we post for clients as well and why, but most posts that you should be making are going to be offer posts, or they should be about the services you offer, because we want those things to match up with what someone's searching for. And that'll make more sense when I share a screenshot with reviews. But Google's trying to make the search that's being put in the search bar and the results match up. They're trying to find something that's relevant. So the more information we have about those services and offers for those services, the more relevant our results become. Before I get into reviews, I have a couple more things, because people ask about photos and videos all the time. It is so important. This screenshot was taken well before ChatGPT and AI and all the different enhancements for all these tools like the Nano Banana and all the other things that you guys see out there that are creating images were taken. This was Google's Cloud Vision AI. And all I did, this is the same image, except I just cut out this on the side over here, and I cut out this Walmart box, and I zoomed in essentially on it. And you can see what the different labels look like. Google can tell what's in a photo. Now, they're not great. At least the Cloud Vision one was not great at like water heater versus air conditioner versus furnace, but they do know it's a fixture. There's gas, there's electrical panel, things like that. So they do know that some of that stuff's in the photo, which makes, again, your content more relevant. So if you're throwing up photos on your Google business profile that you can't tell, it's just like a box with a bunch of stuff all over the place, it's not going to be relevant. Remove that stuff, then repost the photo. You're going to have better results. And then make sure you're also posting images of your team, your trucks, your hats, the type of equipment you work on, especially if the label's showing, because that stuff can all get pulled in you. You can see they can read everything off the side of this truck, even stuff that's really hard for us to view as humans. They can pull up air conditioner and heating solutions, HVAC, sales, services, installations. It's really hard for us to view in this photo, but they can pick it up really, really easily. So the brand of equipment you install, hats, anything that you want to be included in that, they can pick up through those photos. Now, I mentioned that we do some unique things, and this is something you can certainly do yourself, but we take our clients' CRM job data and we run it through a ChatGPT prompt, so we can create unique content that lives up both on the Google business profile and on their website. So we connect it through a technology that we found. And what's nice about this is a lot of times when a marketing company is creating a post, it all kind of sounds the same. It's all kind of, it's got like marketing speak in it. This is actually taking your technician's job notes and job summaries, and like this one, the customer reported that their air conditioning unit was not cooling effectively. This is not something a marketing company is probably going to write for you. Upon inspection, it was determined that the issue was related to a faulty single run capacitor. Now think about ways of injecting different types of content into, this is an AC repair page that we put this on, where Google can pick this stuff up on your website and also connect it to your Google business profile. We've seen, I wouldn't say it's like crazy ranking improvements, but we do start seeing clients showing up for different keywords, things like capacitor, things like that, where they might search a part or a component or something that's a little unique. They may not search an AC repair near me. And then we also try to put what the outcome was. So essentially it's 4 pieces. It's what was the problem, or why did we get called? What did we find on site? What problem did we solve? And what was the final outcome? And that's what we put into a prompt. We take that prompt, we find a photo from their CRM, and then we combine the two, and then we go ahead and post that image. This is what, if you guys, this one you might want to take a screenshot of. If you don't know, we do have a school community and course that teaches you how to build these automations. These are things that with a little bit of time and a little bit of education, you guys can all build this stuff yourself. We do some of this for clients depending on what it is, but you guys can certainly learn how to do that. Feel free to ask us for the link. It's $97 a month. It is paid because we want to make sure that you're actually going to use it. But you can see these are some more screenshots of outputs. Resolve the faulty AC unit swiftly in downtown Austin. We do try to inject the locality of the posts as well, ensuring cool comfort for the season. Don't wait for the heat to strike. Schedule your system repair now. So all of these do have a call to action at the bottom, but these are all, I tried to find a HVAC, plumbing, and electrical one so you guys can kind of see the difference of those. And what we notice is ranking improvements on the website as well as a GBP for this. This is what it looks like. You can see this client. We tested this over a period of a few months. We saw some definite improvements on their GBP and their website. A couple more optimization things, and then we're going to get into some new stuff. So this is something that I think it was again last year. We can connect social media accounts, and I'm going to show you why this is so important, especially if you create video content or you have active presences on these platforms. Because with these connecting these profiles, now you can only show up to 4 profiles, I believe, 4 or 5. So if you have 6, 7, 8, like Pinterest and stuff like that, that maybe not as valuable, don't add those ones because otherwise those will show instead of your other ones. But with these profiles, when you search your brand name, there's 2 different places that you could potentially have your videos show up. And I circled them here, and feel free to do this along with me. Type in your brand name, look under videos, and then look under, if it's under more, hit the drop down and find short videos. Short videos maybe at the top, maybe it's not. But you can see I took a screenshot after I clicked short videos, and these are 7 of the 8 are all videos that I've created. We got Instagram, TikTok, looks like all YouTube. So they're pulling videos from different places based on our brand. And these are great ways just to make sure that this entire ecosystem of online profiles is connected in a way that makes sense. So if you haven't done that yet, it's super, super easy to connect. Go to your profile, edit, find social media, just add the links. And then I would keep checking on this. And if you're not creating video content, create video content. That's like a side tip. But we can go into more of that on a different webinar. So the last 2 top ranking factors we're going to talk about are reviews. And of the top 50 from this study, and I obviously couldn't send a screenshot with top 50, 8 of them, so almost 20%, had to do with reviews. So if you didn't already know that reviews are important, they are very important. I'm also going to talk about how these play into AI search a little bit, and maybe some different automations and things that you can do to amplify the impact of your reviews. So this is something I like to do usually at the end of quarter or end of season, but this is also something you can do if you open up a new Google Business Profile listing, is send out a mass outbound review campaign to past customers. So this client had a location about 15 miles south. It was not a great location, just like I talked about. It was kind of a poor town, not really the type of ideal client for them. So we found them a spot up in Lexington. And in order to start the campaign right and start the growth right, we wanted to make sure that we got reviews for their listing. So they had about 1,500 customers or so. We dripped out review requests to those past customers over about 2.5 weeks. We got about 32 reviews in that time period. Plus, with our optimization and all the things I've talked about on here, we went from barely showing up at all to ready to kill it for AC season. And it was really that simple. And that's why this stuff is so important, because Google does look at that stuff. And it's not even so much the reviews. It's the fact that people are clicking on your listing and doing something with your listing. There was a Google data dump. It had to be a year ago or so now, where it was confirmed that Google can't necessarily read content that well, but what they can read and what they do base results on are clicks and people touching the different things, the different properties that you have. So those clicks and those people leaving reviews and spending time on your profile can really benefit you. And this goes into, again, increasing conversions. So if you look at the search term that I'm looking at here, and if you look at the content in the reviews, Google tries to match these things up. So the more reviews you have with more key words or words that customers use, the more opportunity you have to show up in these results. And you can notice that all of these have some sort of version of repairing AC repair. This is fairly new. I believe this is rolled out to everyone. And this gets into a much deeper discussion, more than we have time for on today's webinar, but Google wants to know what homeowners feel about your price. And we did a podcast episode, again, it's Service Business Mastery, with Marcus Sheridan, who is the author of They Ask You Answer and Endless Customers. We're having him actually keynote and speak at our event here in another week or so. He's been putting pricing online since about 2012. And what I'm going to tell you guys, some people are going to argue with me, some are going to disagree with me. You're going to have to start having the conversation about pricing if you haven't already. That doesn't mean you have to put your exact pricing on your website, but you at least need to talk about what makes a capacitor $150 versus $600 in your market. What things go into that? Is it the licensing, insurance, the overhead, talk about those things, the certifications your technicians have those conversations through your content. And then ideally your marketing company would work with you to take your video content and turn it into a blog. But Google's asking your homeowners, your clients, your customers, this information. And 2 of the 3 extra questions they have are about price. How would you describe the price you paid? And how much did you pay? So they're going to get this information from someone. And the information that's online right now is through Angie, Home Advisor, and all these other places that don't take into consideration your overhead costs. So it's important that we start controlling that conversation, because Google's looking for it and ChatGPT is looking for it. And people can easily now, because they can talk to these AI search tools, it's really easy to say, hey, looking for a affordable or reasonably priced. I know you guys see that on Facebook groups. You're probably going to chuckle out of that. Reasonably priced AC contractor near me. And they're going to look for this type of information from your reviews, from your website, from your content to pull you in or not pull you in. And you get to decide if you want to own that conversation or not. So it's just be aware of it. This is something that your homeowners get a chance to fill out for your business. The other thing I'm going to say, in order to get more reviews, first of all, you should be asking in-home. If your team does not ask in-home, start there before any automation comes into play, because you will get more results. The contractors of ours that crush it getting reviews, I'm talking like 150, 200, 250 reviews a month. They're asking in-home, and then the automation is cleaning up and getting some additional replies. But if you get into the point of doing automation, make sure it's personalized. And I put some examples here because you have information about who the technician was on the job, what city they are located in. Make the ask personal. So this one says, hi, Sarah, this is Ronnie, owner of Dean's Plumbing. Just following up on Ronnie's visit on July 1st. If everything went great, would you take 30 seconds to leave us a review? It really helps others in the Richardson, Texas area find us. And that information can be really helpful, because now they feel like they're doing a favor for not only Ronnie, but they're also doing a favor for other homeowners in their area. And if you do this on like open estimates and other things, not necessarily related to reviews, but again, pull that same information. Adam was the technician. This was the date he was out there, because then the review and the follow-up seem like, oh, it's like someone actually texted me this because it's relevant to their visit at my house. Now, this is something I actually just talked about this on a podcast about an hour before this. This is something not enough people do. This was something, one of the first automations I ever built was taking new 5-star reviews with comments and posting them to all of our social media channels at Professional Services. And what happened is with this information, we not only were doing really well on Google, but all of a sudden our local Facebook groups, we started dominating those. We started getting a ton of people on Nextdoor recommending us. It started carrying over into all these other neighborhood networking sites. We would even get homeowners that didn't even didn't even hire us for anything. They would start recommending us because of the information we were putting online. We just kept essentially shouting into the world, we do 5-star work, we're amazing. And it, unfortunately, regardless of how we all personally feel about it, you have to tell the world that you do good work. Otherwise, people are not going to find you. And this way, you could do it through automation. We do this still for Relentless today. And we also do this for clients, but automate this process. Send it to Facebook, send it to Instagram, send it to LinkedIn, because there are business owners on LinkedIn in your market. There's people that live in your market that are professionals in your area. Make sure it goes out to all of the text-based platform. Now, TikTok, you can't do this, but the other places you can. And it will help you grow in those areas. And if nothing, don't worry about how many likes you're getting or if people share or any of that stuff. Just keep posting it out there. I promise you it will help you in the long run. And the nice thing is it happens without you having to touch a button. My recommendation now, not everyone likes this recommendation. Some people want to reply to reviews themselves. Totally fine. I am of the belief that if we can automate it and it still does as well or better than a human, we should try to automate it and use AI. We reply to all of our clients' reviews with AI and have great success with this. Like this client averages about 100 reviews a month. And if you think about it, if every positive review takes you, let's say, 1 minute to 3 minutes to reply, and you get a couple hundred of those a year, it's a lot of time savings. You could be working on a revenue producing activity versus answering reviews. And you guys can read the review, the response down here. We got tons and tons of these. You don't even really need to use our service. You can build this through Zapier yourself. And that's another thing that we teach people how to do in our school group. If you want to take a screenshot of this, please feel free. Otherwise, you can either comment to Nadine that you want this AI review template or AI reply review template. Otherwise, you can email me personally or message me on Facebook. I'll send this to you, show you how to do it. It's really not that hard. You can set it up and within, maybe 15, 20 minutes, have a review reply system that automatically works in the background. So you don't ever have to touch a review reply again, except for maybe the 1 or 2 star reviews. So one of the first things, and hopefully I don't go too far, there we go. And I wanted to highlight this because when I started at Professional Services in 2019, we had 46 Google reviews. By the time I left 2 years later, and this is about a year after starting Relentless, because we automated the process, and we farmed that information out to all of these different social media networks. We had about 650 reviews. We had multiple, we were starting to get multiple locations. We were dominating local search. And it was just having an ecosystem that took content and repurposed it everywhere. And obviously you still have to ask for the review. You still have to do a good job in home. Some of those things are obviously not something we can help with. But there's a lot of things with technology you guys can do to amplify your results. So again, ask while you're in the house, follow up with automation. You can even automate when you guys get new 5-star reviews, sending them to a Slack channel or a group email address. So that way you guys can create a culture that thrives on 5-star service and celebrate that with your team without having to copy paste. And then your team's always focused on delivering amazing service and getting those reviews because they wanted to get shouted. They want to get shouted out in the Celebrate channel, Slack, for instance. So these things can really go a long way towards creating great culture, great service, and a team that really wants to win. Now I got a couple more things. I'm almost done. I actually did a really good job. I thought I was going to go way over because I added things. I haven't talked about backlinks, and we still get asked a lot about backlinks. So what you have on the screen here, if you guys want to scan this, and if you can't scan it because you're on your phone or something, just let us know. We'll send it to you. It's an AI prompt that I found. It was a course that I took on how to find local backlink opportunities, and it is an absolutely amazing prompt. So I'm gonna give you guys each a second to download that or open it up on your phone, and then I'm gonna go through that on the next slide. And hopefully, in the comments, let me know if you guys cannot hear this. I hope you guys can hear this. Hey guys, so I got that prompt that I just shared with you loaded into Claude. I do use Claude for this. Claude seems to be a little bit better at following directions, and I use Opus for the model. And you can see it went ahead and thought a bunch, and I want you to take a look at what comes out here. Chamber of Commerce. This is a local Chamber of Commerce. The Rotary Club, East Rotary Club, neighborhood associations, events and sponsorship opportunities locally to you. And you can see there's at least 5 of them here. Local media outlets. These are fantastic links for you guys to get. Educational institutions and government pages to try to get connected with. Business directories and listing websites. Now, these are different than the ones that you see like Yelp and Angie and Home Advisor, BBB. Well, some of them are on here, but what you're seeing is Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners. This is a local plumbing directory in Texas. The Good Contractors list. You Hire Texas Contractor Directory. Richardson Chamber Business Directory and Manufacturer Directory. So really, really, really great links here. And then you just use these as a checklist and start going down and see which ones you can get. So now some of this, and this is where there's kind of that divide between what agencies can provide you and what you have to do for yourself, because some of these are paid listings, like the Chamber of Commerce. Typically that's an annual fee, but it's a great backlink. And it's one you wouldn't want an agency to pay for, because if we pay for it, then you lose it if you leave us. You want to own that. So these are things that really, really great opportunities, because a lot of times people are like, I don't know where I can sponsor something locally. That local community stuff is so powerful when it comes to Google Maps and getting a presence in your community. And you can do this for other communities too. Like if you have multiple locations or you serve different areas, you can run the same prompt for other cities as well. That prompt, I think you only have to change like 2 pieces of information, and then you can literally just run that prompt, download it, or turn it into some sort of a checklist. And now you have a really great way for either yourself, a marketing coordinator. You can even get with your agents to be like, hey, any of these directories can you help me with? Which ones can I do? Which ones can you do? But you got a great list to work from. This is something that we're trying to figure out how we can put into our processes, because some of these things like Chamber of Commerce and some of these other sites, we can't do for the client. So we have to be able to strategically tell them like, hey, go get a listing on this site. And if possible, pay for the annual subscription, because it's going to offer opportunities for sponsorship, but also from a side where I'm a little selfish, it's great links. These are great backlinks. These are the best type of backlinks you can get, are the local ones for your business. All right, I got one more big thing. Now I actually took the screenshot from someone on Facebook. I have not been able to replicate this. So please let me know in the chat if you guys have seen this. I don't know if anyone's seen the Have AI call, but this goes back into that pricing conversation we were having, because Google has allowed this as a beta feature where a homeowner can click this button and it will call multiple businesses asking for price. And then what it will do is it will turn it into a report to send back to you, meaning you, the homeowner. And that way the homeowner can make a decision on who they want to hire. So what that means is some of you guys have AI voice set up. AI may be calling and answering, and your business may be dependent on what happens there. So the days of not being upfront about pricing, at least from where I'm seeing changes online, seem to be coming to an end. Like if you keep hiding prices and you don't talk about ranges, you're going to struggle to book calls, because people in a year, 2 years, 3 years, most people are going to use this stuff as an assistant so they can get more done and they don't have to go and call 4 companies to find pricing. So the more you hide that information, the harder it is going to be for you to book service, especially if this becomes rolled out across every industry nationwide. So Just know that it exists. Start thinking about how you want to potentially tackle this if it becomes a thing. I actually noticed, I mentioned I was in early on in this, I was in California twice in the last month, one for Pantheon, one for soccer. And when I was at soccer, we were driving home from Oceanside, and I was at a Taco Bell, which most of you guys who follow my health journey online, I don't normally eat at Taco Bell, but I was hungry and we didn't have too many choices. And Taco Bell had, at least the location we stopped at, had AI taking my order, and they had a human fulfilling the order. So just know this stuff is coming, and it's coming in a lot of different ways. It's best that you're educated so you can at least make an educated decision on which way you want to move forward with. All right, before we get into Q&A, which I didn't see a ton, so if you guys have questions, make sure you put them in the chat, because I want to make sure your questions get answered. I just wanted to kind of share, I wanted to share what it's like to work with us and what things that we help contractors solve. So here's a bunch of reviews. You guys can read our reviews online as well. I think we have about 50 Google reviews. We have a lot of social media presence in different groups and stuff like that. So feel free to read this stuff. All of these people I think on here are still clients today. And then as far as what we do and what it's like to work with us and the things we help with versus the things we don't. So Google Business Profile is still our bread and butter. It's our #1 service offering. We do a really great job with it. We are also multi-location Google Business Profile experts. We have a lot of clients with multiple locations dominating multiple areas. I talked about the review ecosystem. We create that and help clients with sending that stuff out to all of their different listings, as well as replying with AI so they can take it off their plate. Website and SEO that books more jobs. It kind of goes without saying. Again, the core of a website and SEO, we didn't get into a lot of that today, is have all of the service pages you need and all of the locations. It drives me crazy when I see websites where they list 20 locations, but they only have like 5 location pages. You need to have location pages for every single city and town you serve. Otherwise, you'll never show up for near me searches in that area. So just know that if your website looks like that, make sure to book a call with us. We'll talk through our strategy and what that looks like. Ads amplification for me, Google Ads and LSA. I mean, LSA is kind of a core component. Google Ads is more of like an amplifier, something to throw icing on the cake, get everything else dialed in, and then add ads as needed. Content that doesn't suck, as you guys shared. I showed a bunch of screenshots of what our Google Business Profile posts and some of our other stuff looks like. We are trying to use your real data to make our content better. Instead of just throwing up SEO jargon content, we want to make your content better with your information. Our reporting is, at least I think it's really great. We work with Searchlight, so we know an actual ROI on your spend with us. And then we also have a call tagging team that takes calls down to qualified leads, down to booked appointments. So we give you a true booking rate on those leads. While we were at Pantheon, my wife and I were in the line at the hotel, and we had a plumber who said that they book at 70 to 75% inside their service tight account. So we went back to our client success strategist and asked, well, what do we have the last 3 months? 29%, 36, and 42%. And they were struggling. And that type of data is so important for people to have, and have real intelligent data that actually is authentic. Some of the CRMs, you can manipulate that data really, really, really easily. We actually have a AI call analysis tool that is in beta right now. We have about 95 clients connected, and we are going to be rolling that out here probably in October or November, so that way you can get instantaneous call analysis and know what your biggest objections are, and then also automate workflows. So things like qualified lead not booked, we can automate to send that to a CSR or call center manager, general manager, service manager, the owner, whoever you want, so we can try to save that opportunity. And that's just one example of a workflow that you can do. We do a lot of marketing automation stuff. We didn't get into that today too much, but we do a lot with outbounding, speed to lead, open estimate follow-ups, things like that. SMS outbound campaigns that keep you busy 12 months a year. I just ran one. He's actually just shared it on Facebook the other day for an HVAC contractor in Florida. They slowed down a little earlier than expected this year because it's been kind of a weird year with some markets. But we found 2,650 contacts that they hadn't serviced this year. We sent a outbound text campaign for a tune-up and duct inspection offer. We followed up with a couple people, or we followed up a couple times. We booked 83 tune-ups in like 2 weeks. So it's like a 3 or 4% booking rate. We could have probably done even better if they had like an outbound call system or a ringless voicemail setup, but they needed us to launch this really fast. And we were able to get them a couple weeks worth of work in a matter of a week or two. If you'd like to book a call with our team, you can use the link on the left. If you would just like to stay in our ecosystem and learn more with Tersh and I, the link on the right goes to our podcast. We put out a ton of information about AI and technology. Tersh and I love that stuff. We still have contractor stories and things that are working in the trades as well. But a lot of people really like the fact that we focus on AI and automation and technology, so that way they can understand like what the technology does for the business, can solve a problem or whatnot. So feel free to use either one of those links. The actual link, if you can't use the QR code, just type it in below and it'll take you to the right spot. And that leads us to your questions. So hopefully we have some here. Let me move this back over so I can actually see your questions. Looks like Nadine was already handling a few. Awesome. Nadine, you're on the ball. You're getting good at this. Great question, Nick. Does a shared office space help at all, or a virtual office? So those go against Google's guidelines or terms of service. I would recommend not going that route, because what I've noticed, we have been able to get some people approved with their listener verified, but the risk of suspension is quite significant. And those type of listings, Google, whenever they're doing a sweep or they update their algorithm, those generally get suspended. And the worst thing that can happen is if you're in the busiest time of year and you go down, your Google business profile goes down because you just didn't have an office space. Now, I'm not saying you have to have a big office space. You can have an office space that's 100 square feet, 150 square feet. So it doesn't have to be some massive office space, but it should be something you can put a cheap sign on the vinyl sign on the door, get your name in the business directory, like maybe one of those office buildings where like lawyers and dentists and stuff like that that would suffice. So it doesn't have to be super expensive, but I definitely would not recommend going that route. Nadine, I'm going to start going through a few of these because it looks like there's a few questions. Oh, you're getting them. You can just keep throwing them down there, Nadine. Question from Daniel: is it correct that using AI to respond to reviews can get our page flagged? No bearing whatsoever. I wouldn't even worry about that. We respond to literally like tens of thousands of reviews and no issue whatsoever. Google's not going to know if that's an AI reply or not. Trisha, an old employee set up the GBP and I have no access to correct, change, and update. Do you know how I can gain control again? Great question. So there is not a number to call, which sucks, but what you can do is go to business.google.com/ad and put your information in. So you search for the listing, add your email address in there. And then what's going to happen is you're going to have to wait 3 days if nobody replies. Now, if the old employee declines you, you're not going to really have many options. But most of the time, they just kind of ignore it or they don't even have access to it anymore. And then redo the same process in 3 days. And typically at that point, Google will let you get access to the account. The other way is to open a support ticket with Google, but which works fine. You just might have to follow up with them a few times. So there are a few ways to gain control. We did this for somebody who, the business owner, it was like an old personal email and they were the primary owner and we wanted to add one of their employees to the listing. We just couldn't do it. So, but business.google.com/ad, ADD, and start that process that way. You'll have to wait 3 days, do it again, and you should get access at that point. If you don't at that point, I would start a support ticket. It's ADD, Nadine. Like ADHD without the H. Question from Isaac. If two separate businesses in different industries occupy the same building and address, should one business make up a unit or suite number to differentiate on Google? Yeah, I would definitely have a different suite number. I don't know if you'll be able to make it up, because what happens is if you get suspended, you're going to need to have a copy of your lease agreement. So I would make sure it's done in a way that's ethical, where you actually can have the right suite number on that lease agreement. Or if maybe a friend owns a building, make sure that they set it up that way so you get paperwork. Because otherwise, if you do get suspended, it's going to be really hard to get re-verified if you don't have that lease agreement or a copy of a utility bill with your name and your suite number on it. I love all the questions coming in. Keep them coming, guys. Dustin asked, does it matter if your responses to reviews incorporate keywords? Oh man, that's a great question. I've gone back and forth on this. It's not a bad idea, but inject it naturally. So, and that the one nice thing I like about the AI review replies is if a homeowner says something about a service in that review reply, you can kind of essentially say the same thing back in the service, or in the prompt, you can put something about add a service, and you can give a list of services that you provide, and it can pick one. So there's a few ways to do that, but make it natural. Don't make it obvious, because otherwise nothing reads worse than a review reply with someone's like stuffing it with, it's like not, it's very obvious they're stuffing it with a keyword. Great question from Ramon. I'm surprised more people haven't asked this, actually. To what extent is it true that SEO is dead because of new AI technology? Considering, and I didn't get a chance to get to it because we're not done with this study, ChatGPT and Google cite a lot of different sources in their information. And honestly, if anything, I think SEO is more challenging to rank in all of these places than it was before. I've told a lot of people this. I think in a year or two, we're going to go back to the days where we wish Google was the only beast we had to tame, because now we have to track results on ChatGPT, Perplexity, AI overviews, and Google Maps. And it's becoming even more challenging. So now we have to do even more work to rank on multiple places. But at the end of the day, it's still SEO. Good SEO helps you show up in those AI search results. It's not that it's dead. It's just that it's different. So I hope that answers your question a little bit. I definitely don't think it's dying or dead. It's just changed. Dustin asked, what impact does photo reviews from customers have versus just written reviews? Massive impact, actually, Dustin. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that. Like, usually when you pull up your own profile or a competitor's profile, the review, Google almost always has most relevant selected as because there's most relevant, newest, oldest, things like that. You can select to kind of sort reviews. Most relevant almost always either has really long reviews or it has reviews with photos. So if you can get your clients to leave photo reviews, like if you text them a photo of the job and then ask them to leave a review as an example, 100% should do that, because the more of those you get, the better off you're going to be. I don't know if you saw this one, Nadine, so I'm going to pull it up. Do you recommend having a single office per trade? Is that better than multiple trades per office? 100%, Jeremy. Single office per trade. We've got a lot of case studies on that and actually in May, we'll do it again this fall, probably closer to the end of the year. We did a multiple Google business profile webinar where we talked specifically about the strategy, and I share a lot of case studies on that. But you can really own a lot of different real estate by having multiple listings, and then you can grow multiple trades at the same time. Nadine, was there anything else I missed? I did see a question from Dustin pop in here. Does it matter what is in the photos, people versus products? No. I mean, ideally it would be like an air conditioner, water heater, electrical panel, a roof, something like that they post in the review. But the photo itself, just having a photo, will show up in most relevant. So hopefully it's a good review and it's a picture that comes with it, because those will show up at the top. Awesome questions, guys. If there's something else you guys think about later, or you're watching the replay, because we did have about 110 people register for this. If you guys have questions and you're watching this, or you watch it later, or you send it to someone in your office later, feel free to reach out. I'm very easy to get a hold of and answer your questions. So just message me on Facebook, or you can email us and I can help you there too. But really appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. Great questions. Looking forward to chatting with many of you guys as we have trade show season coming up. So if you guys are at any trade shows this fall, come say hey. I'll be at most of them, and we can talk further. Thanks, guys.